Hi everyone, my name is Navdeep Kaur. Now I am going to talk about the media framing. Media framing is the process by which information is presented to the public in a certain way to create a particular interpretation or understanding. In simple terms, it's not just about what the media tells us, but how they tell it. When it comes to crime, the media often frames events to fit certain narratives. Like if a news outlet wants to emphasize the danger of a city, it might focus heavily on violent crime stories, even if crime rates overall are declining. They might use emotionally charged words like thugs, rampage, or crime wave, which heighten public fear. Another example of framing is how different crime are covered depending on the identities of those involved. A violent act committed by a minority group member might be framed as a gang related crime, while the same act committed by someone else might be framed as an individual mental health issue. This framing can shape public opinion, influence policy decisions, and reinforce stereotypes. It also creates what we call moral panics when society overreacts to a perceived threat, often leading to stricter laws and harsher punishments. So, when we consume crime news, it's important to ask how is this story being framed, what perspectives might be missing. Now let's move on the typologies of crime, specifically the distinction between violent and non-violent crimes. Violent crimes involve the use or threat of force against another person. Like this includes homicide, assault, robbery, and sexual assault. These crimes tends to be the most feared by the public, partly because of how much media attention they receive. On the other hand, non-violent crimes do not involve force or injury. These crimes include theft, fraud, drug offenses, cybercrime, and white collar crimes like embezzlement. It's important to note that non violent crimes can have huge impacts too, like financial fraud can ruin lives and even economies, but it tends to get much less media attention than, say, a street robbery. Understanding this distinction helps us analyze crime statistics more accurately and think critically about how crime policies are designed, because often public concern doesn't always match actual crime rates. Now I'm going to talk about how crime is measured. There are three methods: official statistics, victimization surveys, and self report studies. First, official statistics are collected by police and government agencies. For example, the FBI's Uniform Crime Report in the United States gathers data on crimes report to the police. The advantage of this method is that it's systematic and consistent. However, not all crimes are reported. Many victims, especially of sexual assault or domestic violence, might choose not to go to the police, so official statistics can underestimate the true level of crime. Secondly, victimization surveys ask individuals about their experiences of being victims, whether or not they reported the incident. An example is the National Crime Victimization Survey. These surveys give us a fuller picture of crime, including the dark figure of crime, crimes that happen but are never officially recorded. Still, surveys depend on the honesty and memory of the respondents, which can introduce errors. And the lastly, self report studies. Ask people, often young people or inmates, to report crimes they have committed. These studies help uncover crime that would otherwise remain unhidden that remains hidden. But again, issues like honesty, exaggeration, or memory problems can affect the reliability of the data. In short, each method has its strength and weakness. To get the best understanding of crime patterns, researchers often use a combination of these tools. Now, how crime rate changes over time. In many countries, including the United States, crime rates rose significantly during the 1970s and the 1980s, and also peaked in the early 1990s and have been declining since then. For example, violent crime in the US dropped by nearly 50% between 1993 and the 2020. Despite what media headlines often suggest, we are statistically living in one of the safest periods in modern history. However, public perception often doesn't match reality, partly because of the media framing we discussed earlier. There are some reasons of changing the crime rates. First of all, economic conditions. When unemployment is high, crime can rise, although this isn't always the case. Policing strategies, innovations like community policing or hotspot policing have helped reduce crime in some areas. Demographic changes. Crime tends to be committed by younger people, so an aging population can lead to a natural decline in crime rates. And technological advances. Security cameras, alarms, and better forensic technology make it harder to commit and get away with crimes. Social programs. Better access to education, healthcare, and social services can reduce crime by addressing some of its root causes. It's important to remember that different type of crime follow different patterns. While traditional crimes like burglary may have fallen, new types of crime like cybercrime are on the rise. So, media framing shapes how we perceive crime and often exaggerates fear. Typologies of crime help us understand the difference between the violent and non-violent offenses. Crime measurement methods each have strength and limitations, and understanding them helps us critically analyze crime data. Crime trends show that while overall crime has declined in many places, the types of crimes we face continues to evolve. So that's all. Thank you so much.